The Japanese Crown Prince Akishino and the Crown Princess Kiko have arrived in Hanoi for an official visit to Vietnam. The trip, which seeks to promote friendly relations between Japan and Vietnam, comes as both nations are celebrating the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations this year. This is going to be Akishino's third trip to Japan after earlier visits in 1999 and 2012. Now, Akishino had earlier stressed the importance of deepening relations between Japan and Vietnam, noting their long history and cultural and economic exchanges that date back to the 16th century. The Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has said that he is willing to meet with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, seeking a diplomatic path as tensions continue to soar over Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program. Fumio Kishida reiterated the public offer at the United Nations General Assembly just days after his government had publicly announced his willingness for a summit with Kim Jong-un. The governor of Okinawa Island in Japan, Denny Tamaki, has said that the concentration of the US military bases in southern prefecture is a threat to peace. The Tamaki expressed his opposition to the Japanese government's plan to build a new US military base, despite public concerns. The Tamaki made the remarks while delivering a speech at the 54th session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. Now, the Israeli troops have killed at least a 19-year-old Palestinian during a raid inside the Palestinian territory of West Bank. The Palestinian teenager, was shot near the town of Jericho after the Israeli troops went inside the raid and were resisted by the Palestinians who pelted stones. Now, this is the 6th Palestinian killed in the conflict with the Israeli troops since Tuesday. Now, the Israeli army has said that it has carried out raids deep inside Palestinian territories to arrest what it describes as suspected Palestinian militants, in which 6 Palestinians have lost their lives so far. Now, France will not welcome any migrants coming from Italy's Lampedusa island, according to the Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin. Now, France is ready to help Italy to return the migrants to countries with which Paris has got good diplomatic relations. Now, more than 8,500 people arrived from Lampedusa last week, and the United Nations International Organization for Migration has prompted European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to travel there and to announce an emergency action plan. The American President Joe Biden met with the Central Asian leaders on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly to underscore the importance of the alliances for the United States. Biden told the leaders from Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan that the world is a much safer place where nations in fact stand together. Biden is also going to be meeting with leaders from Brazil and Israel on the sidelines of the annual United Nations General Assembly. China and Cambodia have launched mixed group collaborative exercises in the Cambodian capital Phnom Penh, which is a part of the ongoing joint humanitarian exercise. Now, the exercise is codenamed Peace Angel 2023, and this joint exercise will be conducted to improving the coordinated action and emergency response capabilities of the Chinese and the Cambodian militaries. Now, both sides have mobilized more than 700 troops and have used more than 1,000 sets of equipment. And China has said that it is willing to work with Cuba to implement the important consensus reached by top leaders of the two countries and continue to support each other on several issues concerning each other's core interests. Now, Li Shi, who is a member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the CPC, paid an official friendly visit to Cuba from Saturday to Monday. Pakistan's caretaker Prime Minister Anwarul-Haque has called on the rich nations to fulfill their financial obligations to fight climate change. The Kakar in fact made these comments while addressing the United Nations Summit on Sustainable Development Goals. Now, according to Anwarul-Haque, Pakistan's developed country partners must fulfill their pledge to provide the $100 billion annually in terms of climate finance, a sum of money that the rich nations had agreed to. The President of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, spoke at the United Nations General Assembly session and said that Iran is against a new divide between the East and the West. He also added that some nations are employing a Cold War mentality. Apart from this, Raisi also said that the United States must be transparent about reaching a conclusion on the Iranian nuclear agreement. This comes after the former American President Donald Trump had pulled Washington out of the Iranian nuclear deal back in 2018 and had imposed some strict sanctions on Iran. Now, these remarks came a day after Iran and the United States had freed prisoners of both sides who were in prison for several years. Now, the Brazilian Navy has seized more than 3.6 metric tons of cocaine on a boat off the coast of northeastern Pernambuco state. Now, this is seen as the largest single offshore capture of cocaine by Brazil. The seizure follows a series of operations held by the Brazilian Navy to fight drug transportation on the country's eastern coast. Now, according to the Navy, at least about 17 tons of cocaine was seized since 2020. Argentina's President Alberto Fernandez has slammed the IMF for raising interest rates, saying that it was in line with the US Federal Reserve. The Fernandez has also criticized the international financial system for concentrating income in the hands of a few rich nations. Now, according to the country's statistics agency, Argentina's economy has shrunk by nearly about 4.9% in the second quarter of 2023. The data marks the first time that the country's growth has been in the red since 2020. Now, the country is battling to salvage a $44 billion deal with the International Monetary Fund amidst a steady depreciation of the peso and the negative central bank reserves. Mexico's refugee station is overflowing with migrants. On Monday, a group of migrants avalanched to force their access into a refugee station at the border, with Guatemala leaving at least about 2 people injured. Now, according to Mexico's Commission for Refugee Assistance, the incident took place when a group of Haitians in fact rushed onto the others who were waiting in line outside of the Comar station. More than 2,000 migrants have been assisted by the Mexican authorities, mostly from nations such as Haiti, Cuba and Honduras. The residents of Mexico City evacuated their homes and other buildings for an emergency earthquake drill. Now, as the date 19th September also marks the anniversary of the devastating 2017 and 1985 earthquakes. The drill is in fact an annual event to ensure residents are prepared if there is an earthquake. Now, Mexico's last massive earthquake in 2017 had killed hundreds of people and tens of thousands of buildings were damaged. The South American nation of Paraguay supports Taiwan joining the United Nations. While speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, Paraguay's President Santiago Peña said that his government sees the Republic of China and Taiwan as an integral part of the United Nations. This is due to the 1971 resolution that Taiwan has been excluded from the international body which recognizes the People's Republic of China as the legitimate representative of China at the United Nations. Now, Paraguay is the last South American nation with formal relations with Taiwan, which China claims is actually a renegade province of its own territory. A violent tornado has battered the eastern Chinese province of Jiangsu, killing at least about one person and injuring another three. A video that has gone viral shows overturned cars, downed power lines and also flying debris. According to the state media, more than 52 homes have been damaged. Now, even as heavy rains lashed various states of India, the chief of the Indian Met Department is predicting that the South Asian nation will continue to receive heavy monsoon rains in September. Now, this comes as good news for the nation's farmers, as the driest month of August this season in more than a century has hit several of the summer crops. Monsoon, remember, is the lifeblood of nearly about $3 trillion Indian economy. It delivers 70% of the water that is required for the farmers to water and irrigate their fields and to recharge their reservoirs and aquifers. The authorities in Ecuador are stepping up measures to protect a rare species living on the Galapagos archipelago. Now, from the avian flu, this after 3 dead birds have tested positive. Officials sent specialists to collect samples after sick birds were reported over the weekend. Preliminary results indicated H5N1 influenza, and the samples were in fact sent to the port city of Guayaquil for confirmation. Now, the affected sites were closed to visitors, and other areas still open for tourists are implementing strict measures such as shoes and common areas disinfection. Last year, the country had declared an emergency due to outbreak of avian influenza on farms in the Andes. China has chosen to maintain its benchmark lending rates unchanged. This decision aligns with expectations as fresh signs of economic stabilization and a weaker yuan have in fact reduced the immediate need for monetary easing. The one-year loan prime rate remains at about 3.45%, while the 5-year rate holds at 4.20%. China's economy has shown signs of recovery, lessening the urgency for aggressive interest rate cuts. The central bank's decision follows last week's rollover of maturing medium-term policy loans, keeping their interest rates pretty steady. Now, the American Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo has expressed skepticism about Chinese manufacturer Huawei's ability to produce advanced smartphone chips at scale. Now, Huawei's recent launch of the Mate 60 Pro phone, believed to contain a groundbreaking chip from the Semiconductor Manufacturing International Core, has raised a lot of eyebrows. Now, the US cut Huawei's access to certain chip-making tools in 2019, citing security concerns, which Huawei has denied. Now, the Commerce Department is investigating the chip, suspecting that it may violate trade restrictions. Meanwhile, some Republicans are calling for an end to all technology exports to Huawei and to SMIC. In the latest update from the Asian Development Bank, economic growth in developing Asia is expected to be slightly lower this year. Now, the ADB has trimmed its 2023 growth forecast for the region to 4.7%, down from the previous projection of 4.8%. Now, this adjustment is attributed to concerns over China's property sector weakness and El Nino-related risks that cloud regional prospects. However, the outlook for next year shows a slight improvement, with a revised growth forecast of about 4.8%, despite the reduced external demand. Now, the region is seeing some resilient growth driven by strong domestic consumption and investments. Notably, China and India are expected to grow at about 4.9% and 6.3% respectively in 2023.